So what I find rather entertaining about Viv being late for this particular live session is because I don't get regulated. No one can control what I do right now. It's just me, you, and whatever I want to say, and that drives her crazy. So it's me, unscripted, and you should ask me anything you want right now. Well, within reason, for a PG-13 crowd, maybe something like that. Anyways, Viv is at her Krav Maga class, basically how to defend herself, and it's really fun for me. I see we have somebody joining us. It's fun for me to not have Viv here. She will be here shortly, but she doesn't know that I've started this without her. Actually, she probably suspects that. But that's the fun bit for me. I get to be here unregulated, unscripted, and have a moment. That's why I put the sunglasses on, because it makes me look a little bit cooler. Although she would just like eyes roll at this moment. So anyways, this is interactive, and we're going to talk about what it takes for us to get film projects, how we decide on them, and if you ask me questions right now, if we get to talk before Viv gets back from her Krav Maga class, we'll actually get to interact and have a bit of fun before we got to get all professional and serious. So anyways, I'm gonna wait for Viv, unless somebody asks something interesting, or I'm gonna wait till there's a few more people that come on. With these live projects, it usually takes a while for the algorithms in Facebook to populate what we're doing and bring it to the forefront so somebody can watch and see what's going on. So I won't get into the meat of what we're actually going to talk about as far as how we develop projects, where those projects come from. Right now I'm just going to probably, have some fun and continue talking until Viv comes on here and says that I need to stop talking. So I really enjoy monologuing, which I don't get to do very much. And I would say on the subject of what we're talking about, which is how do we acquire film projects and how do we develop these. I'll reiterate this later for people as they join, but it really has a lot to do with networking and who you know and who you have things in common with. And it's very important to interact with everybody and to make sure that when you're talking to someone, they know what you're doing. They know what, not so much the specific project, but they know what you're about, what your next project is. And in this way, you're able to get them interested and get them excited about what it is you do and what you're talking about and the projects coming up. We do some really interesting stuff, all around the world, which is exciting in itself. But when you really want to get somebody involved, you really have to talk and put it out there. You have to live and breathe what it is you do. And for us, that happens to be adventure film. And if you don't do it to that level, you will be successful, but you will not be able to continue to grow. You just have to put it out there. You have to be unafraid to do what you need to do to let people know. Coming back to the topic, and let me, we've had two people join us here. We're going to have a few more later. We're early on in our live broadcast, so we get sometimes a whole bunch of people and sometimes a few, depending. Anyways, bring it back. Viv isn't here yet, so you get me monologuing right now, and you can ask me questions because she won't hold me back. Sometimes she holds me back on what I can and can't say because I kind of wing that out there a little bit. Anyways, Viv will be here soon. She's at her Krav Maga class, which is a defense class that she takes the class. I've been trained in defense. Anyways, it's something we have to do while we're on the job. So coming back to what the topic is, which is how do we get our jobs and how do we decide? I was talking about networking. How we decide on our projects has a lot to do with who the people are and what the project is about. We do a lot of unscripted versus scripted, meaning that there's a script written out, a dialogue. We do unscripted work. The unscripted work it's a different kind of beast. I mean, in the end, you do have to plan it and you do have to create the work, but it isn't written out for you. So you kind of are out there trying to figure out how to grapple with this beast of a story. And to do that, you have to have people with you that are engaged. You know, at the beginning of these types of projects, everybody's excited. It's hoorah, we're going to have a great time. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to make amazing stories and we're going to, you know, sell them and everybody's going to love it. But, you know, what happens is the reality of work starts to happen. The reality of having to be professional and run a business. And a lot of what we do, 90%, is run a business. The other part is filming and being creative. And so when you start to put the running a business part into it, then people really get, you know, they get upset, and it's not what they thought they were going to do. And so you got to be able to bring these people in together and really have them perform on their level and really do what they're good at. And you need to promote the people who are good at what they're doing. Oh, here comes my Krav Maga mate. Here, Viv is coming in the house just now. She's going to come on camera.
Hello. Hello.
There she is. Whoa.
Sorry.
All right.
Sorry.
I got to monologue for 6.5 minutes.
Jeez, you poor guys. I'm so sorry. Do you want to move that way or move the camera this way?
Oh, see, I told you guys, as soon as she got here, I'm going to get told what to do.
I have to apologize. That was a particularly bad one.
Which part?
People forgot how to drive this afternoon.
Cheers. Glad
Cheers.
you could make it to our live broadcast.
Is it particularly sunny in here?
See? Gonna make me take my sunglasses off now. Probably gonna put my drink down in a few.
Also, we still haven't quite solved the framing here. Can you lower your chair?
Oh, sorry. We're having issues.
And then can we either move this way or...
Alright. See, we were going good, weren't we, guys?
Well, I mean, this isn't gonna work, is it? I'm sorry to interrupt. You're obviously having a great time with Eric.
Yeah, we're having a chat. No one's asked me any questions yet, though. So.
I wonder why.
So I was just doing a comment on where you were. I touched a little bit on what it took to develop contacts and network, and a little bit about how when you film, it's actually about doing business and doing some creative.
Thanks for handling that.
All right. Take it away.
So now that the sex appeal has arrived. Shazam! All right,
Sex appeal apparently can't complete sentences. Actually, I'll keep monologuing while Viv...
well, I'm getting the comments up so that if anyone does join us and wants to ask us any questions... have you explained why we're doing two broadcasts
Look, we're losing people. Just as soon as you came on camera, people are leaving.
Damn it, it's not too good, is it?
Somebody's back.
Well, we have discussed this topic. We're doing it twice. Once for the European audience, and this is for the American audience. Well, I think there must be in the same traffic I was in.
We did 2 broadcasts today. We realize, as people do when they travel, that there are multiple time zones. So we did a broadcast early this morning for our fans. We have about almost 3,000 fans. And we broadcast for some of them this morning and those who are awake now on a Friday night in whatever part of the world you're in. We're broadcasting now and engaging you on what we're doing. So for the few who have joined us, we have Viv in the house just now. You missed my monologue. If you missed that, go back. I'm sure Viv will go back and see what it is I said.
Exactly.
But thanks for joining us, and we're going to talk about Go ahead.
No, I was going to...
No, I've been talking for
you've covered
10 minutes now.
So you've covered networks?
I didn't cover it. I just...
Well, this is all... The topic for this week is inspired from one of our fans, Randy Larson, who asked, how do you guys decide on projects? So we actually finished up this morning's podcast talking about the actual things that we look for in a project, some of the qualities we look for. And one of those big ones we talked about is story. We look for an engaging story.
See how serious this all got?
I know.
We were having a good time. My sunglasses were on. I had a cocktail.
I don't want to get too serious.
No, go ahead. They do need to know what we're talking about.
But I do want to answer the questions. So story is very important, and we'll use a current example of a project we've got now, which is the Bartow film. And we really love the story, which is the story of the first generation of female Nepali mountain guides, sometimes colloquially known as Sherpas, although technically not quite that. And they will be guiding up a female snowboarder to ski down Annapurna. Her name is Helena Boyd. So it's a big female empowerment story, but it's tackling some huge issues. The role of women in Nepal, which is a very oppressed society, and also throwing it into the beautiful Himalayas and the action of a snowboard film.
So we're raising money for this. And that's not what this live thing is about, but we want to touch on it.
We know some of you have offered to, how you can support the crew. This would be a good opportunity. I'll post the link to the Kickstarter. This is the first time we're doing Kickstarter.
But what we're doing is, over on Kickstarter, we're trying, to tell the story
it's a really good idea, by the way.
These incredible women. It's Friday. It's Friday here, by the way, for those of you around the world. Anyways, it was a great way to tell this story about these women who have basically said, hey, I can do that too, and why can't I? And actually created action on it and did it and executed it. And that's the really cool thing, I think, about this story and a lot of the stories we tell. It's about the action that's taken by people. We do, as I said earlier, unscripted adventure work. And it really, I feel, as best we can, highlights what people are capable of doing if they take action. And, hopefully that inspires someone out there to do that as well through the work we do. As far as how we cultivate films, I spoke earlier about networking, but it's really about who you know and who you can interact with and who you talk to. But that's not enough. It's not enough just to talk to somebody and just interact with them. You have to, as uncomfortable as it might be, you have to be a bit of a salesperson. You have to plant that seed. You have to say, I'm doing this. And a lot of people have difficulty in saying, I'm doing this. But we do that. We say, I'm doing this. This is what we're doing. And we say it in a very excited way because we're excited about it. You get someone else excited in what you want to do, and they're going to figure out how they can be part of it.
Yeah, so this was a good example. Coming back to kind of using the tangible examples. Helena, who's the subject of this latest film that we're raising funds for, you've actually met her in the crew episodes. She's in the China winter episodes. We met her, got talking, she told us what she was doing. We told, obviously, she could see we're filmmakers. She's in our film. And so that's kind of how it spirals onto the next project. But to keep a little on topic in terms of how we decide on films, story, that's the first one. The second one, and we've kind of been dancing around the topic, is people. Both the character in the story and the people behind whom we work with. So Eric has, I think, talked a little bit about the networks and cultivating those. Once you do find people that you enjoy working with, you'll notice in our own crew episodes, we have a lot of reoccurring people. Brian, who you've seen in Alaska, and he's coming up in some episodes. You've seen him in our live videos.
We got Alyssa, Larkin, Korb. We have, who else has showed?
A few Chinese.
Yeah, a few Chinese. We've had...
a lot of these guys also we've worked with before we started filming behind the scenes of the crew.
Chris Fenton. Holy cow, sorry about that, yep. Chris. Took me a minute. JD's popped up in a few, actually. He's in Belize, he's in Alaska, he's in China at once. And the reason we work with these people is because they're great to work with and we enjoy it. Listen, as much as you're doing a job, you want to have fun doing it. So do it with people you enjoy and who take it professionally and seriously. For me, that's the big part. If you don't take what you're doing professionally, you do it seriously and objectively, it's really hard.
But I mean, you've seen us. We obviously have a lot of fun doing.
Yeah, it's not that we're serious and dry and horrible, but when you'll see, we have fun. But when it comes down to it, we're getting it done.
I'll just a reminder to those that have joined us. This is your opportunity to ask us some questions. We're hitting on a general topic of how we decide on our film projects. But if you've just come, we can see you guys coming on and off. And drop us a comment. Let us know if you want us to answer any questions.
Yeah, we'd love to have some questions if you're sitting out there.
The other part, I've when we did this broadcast in the morning, I think there's 3 major things to answer your question, Randy, on how we decide. Covered story, we've covered people, and the final one is for us, because we're an adventure film production company, we look for unique and interesting places around the world to share with you. We have a specialty because of the relationships, again, this comes back to the people, that we've cultivated and we manage. We can get into some pretty remote parts of the world, restricted parts of the world. We're very good at dealing with military governments that, we're part diplomats, one could say.
I would fully say.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of there's a lot of diplomacy that goes on.
Yeah, we've had to go to areas. I mean, if you have permission from the central government, and then you're standing on the ground with a fellow with a machine gun, that's probably not been passed down to him.
There's usually only one way to be diplomatic with the guy with the machine gun has the right of way.
Except if Vivian has to go to the bathroom, then he can piss right off.
No, I have defied that. I have run at a guy with a machine gun and ran right past him.
Ran at a guy with a machine gun to go pee and told him, "I'm going pee," in English.
Well, he didn't speak English, so it probably was lost on him.
But...
Anyway, yes,
Diplomats.
But as I said, that's not recommended. Basically, everything that we do is not...
Yeah, do not... How's that thing go? I'm a parent even. How's that go? Do what I do? No, don't do what I do. Do as I say. That's what we're saying.
That's right. So when you watch The Crew, that's not what to do. And then listen to what we say.
If you see us running at a machine gun, there's a very logical reason, and there's a lot of things that have been said prior to that.
So we actively look for, particularly for our adventure film stuff, we look for places that are interesting. Again, we have a lot of projects in the work. The Kickstarter for Batu is one of them. But we've also got a couple of other projects with some ski mountaineers and ultra runners. And Eric has spent some time. That was one of the things he did, was research interesting locations, because for us that the world's getting smaller, but at the same time there's a lot of the world that we still don't get to see, so we like to share that with people.
I mean, there is a ski film to be made, right? Do you want to see a ski film in another resort somewhere? Or do you want to see people skiing on a mountain in the middle of the Congo in Africa? And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're going to bring to you. And that's what we're after. That with story and really cool characters.
So, we've got our first question. Yeah. This is from Rockford T1 Base. Welcome and hello, and thanks for listening.
Cheers. Rockford, for short, I hope.
Do you guys have any plans to do any future vids with Exploring with Josh again? You guys are awesome. Thank you. Greatly appreciate that. Yes, we're in contact with Exploring with Josh pretty much. Oh my goodness, my sister just jumped on and said hello. I think that's the first time my family has tuned in.
Oh, hello, Jacqueline. How are you? I should embarrass you right now.
Trust me, The Crew does that by itself.
Oh, I do that.
And I've edited most of those. We'll get back to my sister in a minute. Rockford, sorry to break off your question. We are in communication with Josh a fair bit. We've got his number.
We have contact occasionally, we
are looking for that project. We've got one brewing, and then it kind of, this is the problem with film projects. They get going and then they drift off.
We haven't talked about that. You should talk about the throwing it on the wall and the fuse stick.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much about how we decide on projects, but it is part of the process.
And it applies to projects with Josh or any other creative. We we constantly, like with Josh and ourselves or another creative, we bounce back and forth and bounce back and forth.
We keep a lot. It's like, as I said in the morning broadcast, we have a lot of irons in the fire, and I haven't done the statistical maths on this, and now that my sister's listening, she's going to be very ashamed. But I think on average, about 4 out of 5 of those don't come off.
Yeah, 4 out of 5. So that's about 50%. Oh, wait.
Okay, even I know that's wrong.
I was just being funny.
But I couldn't tell you what percentage it is.
Really? I bet someone will tell us.
Someone will tell us very quickly. So, but what I'm trying to say is that the vast majority don't come off. And that's, unfortunately, Josh kind of falls into that category. So we keep a regular contact with him, and we bounce ideas off. Eric caught up with him in LA.
Well, I introduced my family to him.
Oh, yeah, there is a video. Our most recent one would be somewhere in there.
So
we caught up with him. He came to Seattle, and as you know, we're based in Seattle.
So we popped up, and we all said hi.
Whenever we're in the region, we keep in contact with him. We follow him. And
Josh, we're talking about exploring with Josh, by the way.
So it's a bit of a roundabout answer for you, but we're working on it. I can't give you a definitive when we're next going to get him on board, but...
But what we do is we do work with creatives all the time, and influencers. We did, although we didn't work with Exploring with Josh recently, we worked with Genevieve Morton, a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. She's been on the cover of GQ. So she was a great influencer. She has something like 350,000 followers on Instagram, about 3 million and some change on Facebook. And we worked with her over in Wyoming, and that was great. And that's what we do. Although we want to work with Josh again for sure, and we want to work with Genevieve again, we try to go out there and find other demographics and other people who do different things, completely different than what we do. Because that's the point. Although we do this like rugged adventure stuff in these different places, one of the things we like to do is keep it mixed up a bit.
Yeah. So that's the kind of, to answer Randy Larson's question succinctly.
I thought we did.
How do we decide on projects?
Oh, how do we decide on
them? Cool location, characters, and story. Now, how do you actually make that happen?
Oh, that's rough.
Can
I use my example I used this morning?
Sure, I can't remember what it is.
All right, so
that's
imagine
how much I pay attention to you
1,000 meters or 1,000 yards out there. There is this really cool thing out there, 1,000 meters away, that you really want to do, and you can see it, and you can envision it. It's a thing. And now put yourself back here at the other end of that 1,000 meters, or 100, I think it started with 100. Anyways, put yourself here, and then put 100 problems and situations in between yourself and the 100 meters, and you got to solve every one to get there. That is what it takes to create one of these. And I'm not being negative about what we're doing. It's literally... it's creating something and solving all the problems to get there, because that is what people won't do. And that's what separates out the doers and the people who think about doing. And it is not easy, and it's often not very fun.
I agree. That's...
Apparently I'm the only one who feels that way. Although she's Australian, the most pessimistic person I know.
Well, I said some good things this morning. I said... you got to have a positive attitude.
Do you disagree with what I said?
No, I just think it was a very convoluted way of saying it's difficult. But
Really? Here, there's where you want to be, and there's a lot of crap in between.
That was simple. See, that was concise and simple.
And if you can accomplish that, then you'll actually probably do pretty good in life.
My sister did pay us out for our maths. My maths.
Really? But did she give us the answer? I don't believe she did.
No, she didn't. She just said...
maybe she doesn't know the answer
maths.
either. Maybe she's nervous about percentages online. I don't know.
I think she thinks we're idiots, to be perfectly honest.
Too bad. I have taken higher math. I've forgotten more math than most people have ever known.
I think the Friday afternoon version...
somebody just left the conversation.
Yeah, is a little more unhinged and less focused.
Well, I mean, come on. It's Friday afternoon.
It's Friday afternoon.
So
shoot us any questions you like. We've answered our main topic and our reason for being here. Of course, we can talk philosophically
Wait,
about...
I can keep answering the question.
How do we decide on projects?
Yeah, I have so much more to say.
Look, we just lost somebody. The timing is impeccable when people tune on and off.
We have about 5 more minutes in our broadcast.
We're trying to keep them to 30-minute broadcasts. I understand I was running a little late, so...
It's just fine. You got 30 minutes of me. But we keep them to 30 minutes because she doesn't want me to monologue for
It doesn't actually solve that. You still monologue.
So
anyway, please ask us questions. This is your opportunity. As you know, we put out a weekly polished edit. That comes out every Sunday, but it's a couple of months behind. So we're trying to do these regular live broadcasts to our channel so that you guys can meet us.
Did I read that question right? Do we have a need for a bombshell engineer?
Jacqueline, my sister Jacqueline. I have 2 sisters. I'm the oldest of 3. See, I got that math right.
Jacqueline, do you like how she needed to point that out, that she's the oldest of 3?
No, it was just a fact.
Nobody cared, though. They just wanted to know if you had a sister.
Anyway, she asked, do you have a need for a biomedical engineer on your crew?
Oh, I thought it was bombshell engineer. Sorry about that.
Well, we might, by the time I'm finished with you.
Biomedical, well, what?
I don't know. I mean, we did have a need for one. Jack, you can just come on our trips, Jacqueline. Why didn't you come on the next one?
You know what we should do? You know what would be really cool? There's a lot of adventures that don't happen out in these wild, crazy places.
You know what's interesting, though, about, like, do you need a biomedical engineer? Why we specifically don't need a biomedical engineer? What we do...
Because we have one, Jacqueline.
Well...
Do we not forget?
What we do appreciate is different. Is the thoughts... Oh, my God, I can't even speak. The thinking style of an engineer is often very useful.
That's a very good point.
In what we do. So and this is a good point for those of you interested in film. Eric has not come from a traditional film school path.
I've come from biomedical engineering.
And there are a lot of people as you kind of move through life and you figure out where people come from and what they do. Just because, I think Jim Carrey's painting now, So it doesn't matter, The point is, if you can combine, as I have, logical engineering thought with creative side, then you can become me. Oh my God. Filmmaking is actually an interesting art form because it is very technical.
It's crazy logical, actually. It's not as creative as you think from a feel-good standpoint.
Well, I was just going to say, comparatively to like painting or writing or music, there is a very technical side to music, but there's some very, very technical elements in filmmaking, all of the lenses and actually getting things in focus and
even the execution. The execution is super.
As my dad said when I told him what I do as a producer, I walked through all of them. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a film producer. This is what I do." And he kind of looked at me at the end and basically said, "So you're a project manager." And that's it. We have all these fancy terms in filmland that makes it seem like, you're doing like a rigger or a focus puller. Those people have very engineering type brains. So what I'm saying is we can always use someone who's a critical thinker.
But I would argue even from the creative side. I've seen editors. I mean, Viv is an amazing editor, and I've seen editors that are even beyond her operate. They operate in a very technical. There's a few people beyond her. A few. I've seen them. I've never actually been able to talk to them. They're very technical, very logical, and very systematic. And a matter of fact, creation is mathematic. I don't care what you try to do. Creation is mathematic.
We have wandered off topic, and I could see where you were winding up, and it is 6:29. However, if you'd like to join Eric the Science Guy on his chat about creationism, we might just...
Creationism? Creation. Logical creation.
Sorry for me for stepping on the wrong word there.
Logical chaos. So,
Anyway, we might set up a separate YouTube channel.
I'm getting shut off. Lovely to have you all join us. We appreciate it,
and
we hope you were entertained and received some actual good information from what we tried to.
That would be a miracle if you did.
In the first 10 minutes where Viv wasn't here, I'm pretty sure I nailed it.
You can leave your reviews.
We're going to be live next week.
Yep, that is for sure. We're trying to get regular on our live.
We're going to do twice a day?
Well, this was an experiment. So
I liked it.
It was definitely beneficial for the people in Europe and UK this morning. They loved it.
We had a nice audience this morning.
We did have a nice audience.
You guys are nice too.
No,
just saying we were surprised. We thought no one would be there.
At 10 o'clock in the morning.
At 10 o'clock in the morning.
Anyway, but it was in the evening for the UK. So we're totally experimenting with this. So of course you can always leave your comments. You can let us know. You know, let us know what times work. I mean, hello from Arizona. Awesome. We love it when you guys comment because otherwise it's just us talking to ourselves.
Which I'm fine with. But
yeah, but
she likes the comments. I just talk at you.
Anyway, so we've got one from Sydney, one from Arizona. There's obviously others.
A few people hiding.
There's a few people hiding. We don't know where you guys are from, but salute to all of you. But we're going to leave you shortly. Give you a last few seconds to throw in your questions if you have any. We're
going to head out.
We're going to head out, but we'll come back next week. And are we going to do 2 times a week?
Oh yeah, we're coming back like a bad disease.
Oh dear. So basically, leave your feedback. Let us know kind of, you know, those of you who tell us what times work for you. I mean, we'll fit around that. We had a guy from the UK said, you know, oh, I'm going to miss you guys. It'll be 2 a.m. And that's what inspired us to do 2 broadcasts. So if you guys talk to us and let us know when you want to chat with us and also what topics you want us to talk about, just drop it in a comment on any of the videos. We always read the comments and we always get back to you. So let us know timings, what you want to hear, and thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Nice to see you, Jacqueline. And we appreciate everyone who's joined us from around the world today. See you next Friday. Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.